the first and only internet television network that's truly plugged in. 866-224-5422. That's AMP, the number 2.TV.
Are you a music therapist or part of the music therapy community? If so, we're excited to announce Aria. Aria is a mobile app that provides tools, resources, and community for today's modern music therapist. You can plan, implement, and share music therapy interventions with the community, keep track of your schedule and contacts, and learn from other members in our community section. Best of all, Aria is free. Visit arianow.com to get started today. The Palm Beach Music Therapy Institute is a professional music therapy practice serving medical, community, and educational settings throughout Southeast Florida. With our experienced team of 11 board-certified music therapists, we use music and research-based therapeutic interventions to help individuals of all ages and abilities reach their goals and increase their quality of life. For more information on our services and programs, please visit our website at pbmti.com, engage with us on Facebook, Twitter, or Instagram, or call us at 561-747-9944.
The opinions expressed on the following sponsored program are strictly those of the host, guests, and callers, and not necessarily those of this station, its staff, management, or sponsors.
You are listening to Connections, a place to learn about and celebrate creative approaches to healthcare, education, and wellness. Each week, we explore new ways that creativity can reach and connect individuals in all stages of health and wellness. Join us as our host, Bree Gordon, board-certified music therapist and managing partner with the Palm Beach Music Therapy Institute, interviews professionals, volunteers, and community members from healthcare and educational backgrounds. If you are at home or near a computer, you can join us via live streaming video at facebook.com/connectionsbyaria. We hope you enjoy the program and find new ways to bring the joy of creativity into your life and the lives of those you love. Hello, thank you so much for joining us tonight. You are listening to and watching Connections. I'm your host, Bree Gordon, board-certified music therapist here locally in beautiful, sunny South Florida with the Palm Beach Music Therapy Institute. If you're joining us for the first time, I'm so glad you found us, whether it's at 95.3 FM, 1470 AM on iHeartRadio, or on our Facebook Live channel, which you can check out if you're home, not driving, safely in front of a device, at facebook.com/connectionsbyaria. Not only will you see the live video stream there, but I love to interact with those who are listening and watching. You can leave us comments in real time there. I will try to check them on commercial break, answer any questions that you have. You can also always join into the program by calling 888-565-1470. If you are checking us out for the first time, again, I want to thank you. We have just moved to a brand new day, so we have been on Wednesday evenings on these networks for almost 2 years now, which is hard to believe. And this is only our second show on a Monday night, so I'm really excited for a chance to reach new people on this new night. And I want to give you a quick idea, if you are joining for the first time, what you can expect from these next 50 minutes together. I have the incredible honor and joy of being able to share with the community with some of the incredible things that are going on here locally. Locally in our backyard here in South Florida, nationally, even internationally. We've had a chance to talk to people all over the world about this work that they're doing that just infuses a little bit of creativity into healthcare, education, community, relationships. Anyone who is really working, volunteering, or just kind of coming up with these new ideas, outside of the box ways to reach people, to connect with them, to communicate them, this is what I want to highlight on this program. As a music therapist, I'm no stranger to the idea of creativity and using creativity in my work, and also having people have no idea what I do, which is fine. I love the chance to educate on it, but what I realized out of that, and out of this kind of persistent, sometimes challenge, but mostly opportunity of sharing what I do, that there is a little bit of a lack of awareness of the resources that we do have. So in no way does this program ever advocate against traditional medicine or pharmaceutical or anything like that, but just offer a complementary approach to again reaching people, to connecting with them, to bringing about this comfort, because we are complex. We're all complex, right? And everything's connected. Our mind, our bodies are all connected. So, the last couple weeks, we've been talking to anyone from life coaches to even IT technology support, which you might not really see the connection in there. But here's the thing. With a show like Connections, this is how we become stronger. This is how we become stronger in our health, in our wellness, in our community, in our profession. It's just by knowing these resources. So what we were talking about with technology last week actually is what a little bit of a hindrance technology presents sometimes when you're thinking generationally. So I work mostly with seniors. The median age of individuals that I get the honor of working with every day is really, mid to high 80s. So I have to be really sensitive to when I'm using technology in my work, even if it's just to pull up song lyrics for something or show a picture to someone. The moment that I pull up my cell phone or my iPad or my computer, I could have presented a barrier. This technology creates a huge generational gap. But what I wanted to focus on with talking about technology was how we could use technology to actually help people with, whether it's in their professional, personal lives, how we can use it to create intergenerational bonds, kids spending time with seniors to teach them technology, to connect them to recordings of big bands from the 1940s playing through YouTube, and really bring joy through technology so it's not such a foreign tool, right? So different things like that, using music, using art, using dance, using play, using poetry, storytelling. How has this had an impact in our community when it comes to working with individuals of all ages, when addressing the needs of caregivers, when addressing the needs in a corporate setting, using drumming to help employees, to help teams build together, help the community build. That's what this time is all about. But one thing that I noticed when I was kind of putting together this month of shows is I try to think what are some areas that I haven't talked on as much. And I think about the domains that we talk about: the physical, emotional, psychosocial piece, cognitive piece. And I really haven't spent a lot of time in the last 2 years talking about our spiritual health and wellness. Had a few programs mention spirituality, but nothing really dedicated specifically to it. So if you hear that and you're thinking, I don't want to spend the next hour talking about religion, that makes me uncomfortable, I hear you, I appreciate that, but please don't go anywhere, because that's not what this hour is going to be about. I have an amazing opportunity to get to, I'm not even going to say interview, I get to hang out and talk to a friend today that I used to do a lot of work in hospice care with, and you guys just get to be a part of that and hang out with us. So thank you for doing that. To really talk about how spirituality, the role of spirituality throughout the whole life cycle, but specifically, we're going to talk a lot about hospice care today, and how honestly I was kind of taken aback in my work in hospice care, how important that really was at the end of life, how spiritual isolation affected people, how it was something that really brought, again, generations together, particularly when there weren't really words to express what were going on, or that wasn't a comfortable place to interact verbally. How did working on the spiritual wellness of the situation bring people together? So we're going to be talking about that, and also just how it benefits us all. As I've said in the past, it is not my job here to comment on politics, and I've really chosen not to take a stance on this program just to not be divisive. But I don't think, and I hope I'm not being divisive in just saying that there's maybe just some healing that our world could use right now. I know I'm feeling it. I've felt it. I can't go on social media without it being very clear to me that my peers and colleagues are feeling it as well. So that's something that my guest and I are going to be talking about today too, is just how can we use this approach, this interfaith spirituality approach to connect, right? This is what the show is all about, connections. So if you are new to the show, you may not be familiar with my little tradition here, which is at the end of my monologue, I like to share a song, because that's my nature as a musician. This is when words fail, music speaks, right? So I have done this show on this I have done this song on this program before, but I think it's very appropriate for how I'm feeling today, how I imagine many of you are feeling today, and what our topic is on using this focus on spirituality as a way to connect and to reach others and to share positivity and light and love. So this is a song that kind of came to me that I wanted to share with everyone today. If you know it, wherever you are, I want you to sing along with me. Imagine there's no heaven. It's easy if you try. No hell below us. Above us only sky. Imagine all the people living for today. You may say I'm a dreamer, but I'm not the only one. I hope someday you'll join us, and the world will live as one. Imagine there's no countries. It isn't hard to do. Nothing to kill or die for. No religion too. Imagine all the people living life in peace. You may say I'm a dreamer, but I'm not the only one. I hope someday you'll join us, and the world will live as one. You may say I'm a dreamer, but I'm not the only one. I hope someday you'll join us, and the world will live as one. We're going to take a quick commercial break. When we come back, I'm going to introduce you to my guest today, Reverend Renwick Bell. Oh my gosh, my dear friend, I do this every time I have someone I actually really know on the show. I mess up their name. I promise I will never do that again. And I'll do that a million times because I just said that on air. Reverend Ren Bell, I can't wait to introduce you to him. Stick around, we'll take a quick commercial break. We'll be right back. Are you a music therapist or part of the music therapy community? If so, we're excited to announce Aria. Aria is a mobile app that provides tools, resources, and community for today's modern music therapist. You can plan, implement, and share music therapy interventions with the community, keep track of your schedule and contacts, and learn from other members in our community section. Best of all, Aria is free. Visit arianow.com to get started today. The Palm Beach Music Therapy Institute is a professional music therapy practice serving medical, community, and educational settings throughout Southeast Florida. With our experienced team of 11 board-certified music therapists, we use music and research-based therapeutic interventions to help individuals of all ages and abilities reach their goals and increase their quality of life. For more information on our services and programs, please visit our website at pbmti.com, engage with us on Facebook, Twitter, or Instagram, or call us at 561-747-9944. You are listening to Palm Beach Music Therapy Connections. If you'd like to join the conversation, the toll-free number is 888-565-1470. Now back to the show. Thank you so much for joining us tonight. You are listening to and watching Connections. I'm your host, Bree Gordon, and I'm here with, I'm going to get it right, and I'm going to mess around with that first name again, Reverend Ren Bell. Thank you, Ren, for being here. It's such a pleasure to see you. It's been too long, a couple years.
A couple years,
yeah. A couple years, which is insane, and yet, despite that time, my plea last night of, hey, I think the world needs a little bit of light and positivity and love. Could you join me? And
Sure.
said, yes, right away.
Absolutely.
And I love you for that. That's awesome. So again, thank you for being here and for offering your insight on all of this, as well as sharing about the amazing work that you do, working in hospice care, working as a hospice chaplain. To just go back, would you mind just sharing a little bit about yourself and what kind of led you to the work that you do?
Sure. In 2000, a year after my dad died, I entered the seminary and went to seminary for 5 years. And then I became a pastor of the church that I had been the organist of for 12 years. And then I was there for 9 years as pastor. And it was a good run. And then I started working for Harbor Palliative Care, which was part of Hospice by the Sea.
Yeah.
And then I was doing that part-time down in Hollywood. And then I moved into hospice care on various teams out in the field, and then finally where I am now at the Hospice by the Sea Trustbridge Health Care Center in Boca Raton.
Where we got to meet and work together.
Absolutely,
and, I so appreciate, first of all, that's just a special unit.
Yeah, it's 30 beds and families and things going on, and it's always hopping.
It is always hopping.
Yes,
it is.
hopping.
But you know what? Why it works is because the staff themselves are a family.
Exactly.
I mean, it's a very family-based place. And I haven't been there in a while, so I haven't even seen all the renovations that have been done.
Beautiful.
But I can just speak to a couple years ago. The family room and the way the rooms are set up to be accommodating to families with, couches that pulled out and chairs that became beds and all these things. And then, like I said, the staff being in the center of it all. Maybe it's completely different now. This is my memory of it. Being in the center of it all and being so family-oriented themselves. It set the tone.
Yeah, it really does. It's a very special place to be.
It is.
We sort of keep the spirits in the best place possible under sometimes rocky circumstances. And that's what we do, because oftentimes we'll go into a room, I'm the chaplain, and they'll go, well, but we're Jewish. Chaplain has such a Christian connotation, and actually I prefer spiritual care counselor. And if someone's not into religion, well, it's not about that. If we can provide religious ritual for someone, we do that.
Right.
But of course, we're just there for spiritual care, emotional support, and that's pretty much it for families and patients as well.
I don't know if I knew this or if I remembered this about you, that the experience of losing your own dad kind of led you into going into seminary. I mean, do you feel like that indirectly led you into hospice care, or was that just kind of where you ended up in life?
I believe that spirit and energy never dies, and I believe that although some Christians believe that they're in a place called heaven, I believe that the spirit and energy is multifaceted. It can be inside of people that they left behind. So I feel like my dad is in me sort of directing, and I like that, Started writing music for the church, something I would never have thought of doing before. So that was an inspiration for me. So he's still directing. Yep. Even when I don't want him to, so yeah.
Yeah, that's pretty cool. I feel similarly, I mean, in a different way, I do feel like I was kind of led to this work through going through complicated losses as a child, and my dad being one of them. And it's cool what you say about, and we've had these conversations before about spirit, and I think that's what adds to what's special about that unit too, is we do lose, several people in our work, and we become close to people, and sometimes we become very close because they're there with us for a while. And I do believe that spirit stays, and because people, our goal is to make them comfortable. I say I haven't been there for years, but you know what I mean?
Yes.
Being there, that it just keeps that positive atmosphere, that positive environment there.
Yes, and and part of my job and all of our jobs, we're all sort of ministers, priesthood of all believers, so to speak, and that's belief in anything. We're just there to also support ourselves, because the work that we do is pretty emotionally draining.
It is, yeah.
You know, you get attached to a case, you see a family for a period of 2 or 3 weeks, and sometimes you get kind of close to the case, and sometimes we need to refresh and renew ourselves, which is part of what I do as well, working with the employees, my fellow family members there at the unit. So,
absolutely.
yeah.
It's funny because seeing you and being connected on Facebook and doing our, celebrations of each other's lives and happy birthdays and all of that, but physically seeing you after all this time, it brings back a lot of these cases. I'm remembering things that we worked on very closely together, and one of the things that I always consider to be a great gift throughout all my years working in hospice care was the opportunity to meet people where they were at culturally and spiritually, though I maybe never spoke the same word as them or same language, or knew really any of their traditions. But being able to use music in Creole, in Hebrew, in Spanish, songs from the Kingdom songs for Jehovah Witness, these were totally new things to me. I come from the least culturally diverse corner of the planet.
Where was that again? You're from?
In the Finger Lakes, upstate New York.
Oh, okay, yeah, sure.
I never really knew anyone of a different anything than me. And moving to South Florida was a huge culture shock.
Right.
But I got to be a part of Seder dinners and provide music for a Jewish wedding that happened on a unit, that because it was the patient's last wish for her child to be married, and so they made it happen there. Or Creole was such and it was a chaplain, from Haiti that sat down with me and taught me Creole. You sat down and taught me, Catholic songs. Rabbis would sit down and teach me the proper way to, sing in Hebrew.
Exactly.
What a gift.
Yeah.
I feel like that was to be able to reach people and not just say, hey, you know what, I don't understand. I don't know your faith well enough to share that with you. I'm going to maybe find someone else who can.
Right.
Because time is limited. And when you're working in hospice care, you don't always have that option to say, can you wait like 48 hours? And I'll find someone who can help you with that.
Yeah, no, it's just not. It's about connection. It's about communication. And you talking about singing and even prayers. I mean, I have my Jewish cheat sheet. I know the Jewish prayers, and oftentimes I'll put on a yarmulke, and I respectfully say we don't have a rabbi here at the time, but if you would allow me, I know the prayers in English, and I'd be happy to share them with you. And they just, the jaws drop, and they go, yeah, that would be a great idea. And oftentimes I end up doing the memorials for those families.
Does any a certain memory come to mind? I'm sure you have millions, but just of a moment when that openness to another culture, to another religion, maybe surprised someone or created a connection that maybe wasn't there before?
Well, we had a South American patient whose sister was insisting that the reason the patient wasn't able to let go and to transition was because she had made a contract with a Santorian priest. Okay, so this is way out of my league, okay? I went to Resources, Mary Ann Watson, a good friend of ours, a mutual friend, and found the incantations and found the prayers. And within 2 hours, the patient had died. Wow. And whether or not that was the Spirit working through me, I'm not sure. But what happened was the family was convinced that that prayer and that incantation allowed that curse to be broken. And so, you got to meet them where they're at.
Right.
That's important. So it's more about spirituality and less about religion in that sense.
Yes.
And meeting them where they are and making that effort and allowing the patient to possibly hear what was going on and believing that was the case. Because the divinity is within us, and how we use that and how we show it and how we practice it can be amazing. Absolutely amazing.
Yeah, I love that. You're so right, too, that not to take experience away from anyone, in fact, to empower them with their experiences, that we even if it's within our culture and our religion, we may not understand what something means to someone, right? So I think it is all about whatever that means to that person. I mean, I think about experiences, on patients that we had worked together with, I'm thinking of, I wonder if you remember this, an author who was trying to track down music, a composer, music that she had written.
Oh, yeah.
And I was just talking about this the other day with someone, and her big thing with me, being the music therapist, was wanting to find this music that she had written. She wanted me to learn it. That was her final wish. And went through the Library of Congress
right,
and getting her, finding out how we could legally do this and getting her consent and all those things. And it was the day that we found out we had the rights to get it sent to the hospital. I remember telling her, and she passed.
Yeah.
So didn't actually...
Her job was done, your job was done, your job together was done. Yeah.
It was so... that was so powerful to me because it wasn't even in a time when she was verbally responsive. Right? And kind of like the situation you're saying, maybe they didn't come out themselves and say, okay, now I'm at peace. No, it just was... But they were there, they were listening, and it just reminded me to never underestimate the human will.
Absolutely.
Because we don't know.
Yeah.
I mean, we could work in this and study it the rest of our lives, and we just don't know. And I think that's exactly why that spiritual piece is so important. Because it's all about tending to the unknown.
Absolutely.
Yeah. It's powerful stuff.
Yeah, it's good stuff.
I miss it.
Yeah.
Oh, now
we
we're
miss
talking
you.
about I miss it. Can I just show up sometimes?
Yeah.
Hang
show
out.
up. Yeah.
on
Absolutely.
my free time.
Yeah. Right.
I love, and I think that it was really, one thing that was special about us getting to work together there too was you had such a music passion, and I know that you use music a lot in your work as well, and we were even sharing that outside of your work in hospice and work in churches that your background is as an organist.
Yes,
right,
that's
and
correct.
also doing some singing
Singing
as
right,
well. So
and writing. And
what do you see as the tie between all of that, of the spiritual counseling and music and the role of that?
I think, well, the old adage is if you sing a hymn or you sing a prayer, you're actually praying twice. And I think that music can just be such an amazing force. And, the lyrics and the music together can be just transforming. And whenever there's transformation, there's spirit, there's love, there's acceptance, there's communication. A lot of things roll into one, it's all together, I think.
Where do you get your inspiration from when writing?
Writing, I think I get it from my dad, because we were both musicians. And later in life, he took up the classical guitar. Andre Segovia was his idol. And when I got him an autograph from Segovia, who I met, it was like that was the pinnacle for him. But we would play Bach together, piano and guitar and that sort of thing. So, yeah, music was always a connection. And a spiritual connection as well as a love connection. That
Right.
sort of thing, yeah.
Right. That's wonderful. And that's your way of honoring him.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, in fact, I wrote his mass for his funeral, as he wasn't, we didn't have the service till a month later, so I had some time to get some stuff together. And, and the priest actually allowed me to use my music, which wasn't necessarily liturgically or religiously correct, but he allowed me to do that, which was really an honor for me,
Yeah.
And, good
Kudos
stuff.
to that priest as well, because that's a big deal.
Yeah, it is a big deal. Yeah, Irish priest. Yeah.
Wow.
Very. He realized that it was my dad and that I had done this for him, and he honored that. So we had a spiritual connection, me and that Irish Catholic priest.
That's pretty awesome. Right. That's pretty awesome. So we're going to continue talking about this. We take a quick commercial break, but that connection it extends beyond our unit, that we worked with together, and it is something that connects all of us, regardless of background, regardless of faith affiliation. I think that honestly, it's on display here in South Florida. It's like a microcosm here for the entire world because we are so multicultural. So I want to get your thoughts on that and the role of spirituality throughout our culture right after this quick commercial break. We'll be right back. Are you a music therapist or part of the music therapy community? If so, we're excited to announce Aria. Aria is a mobile app that provides tools, resources, and community for today's modern music therapist. You can plan, implement, and share music therapy interventions with the community, keep track of your schedule and contacts, and learn from other members in our community section. Best of all, Aria is free. Visit arianow.com to get started today. The Palm Beach Music Therapy Institute is a professional music therapy practice serving medical, community, and educational settings throughout Southeast Florida. With our experienced team of 11 board-certified music therapists, we use music and research-based therapeutic interventions to help individuals of all ages and abilities reach their goals and increase their quality of life. For more information on our services and programs, please visit our website at pbmti.com. Engage with us on Facebook, Twitter, or Instagram, or call us at 561-747-9944. You are listening to Palm Beach Music Therapy Connections. If you'd like to join the conversation, the toll-free number is 888-565-1470. Now back to the show.
Didn't look too bad.
Thanks so much for joining us tonight. You are listening to and watching Connections. I am here with the wonderful Reverend Ren Bell. Thank you, Ren, again for being here. On a late notice, it was kind of an emergency spiritual call, right? It just kind of felt like I just sat back. I'm like, what do I think would be a good topic right now? I was really inspired by this video that I totally happened across on Facebook. It wasn't even from a page that I followed or anything. It was like someone who I'm friends with had followed it, and I just happened to be in a moment where I wasn't flying through life, and I just could dedicate like 10 minutes to sitting and watching something, which how often do we ever do that? If I can't receive the information in like 30 seconds, I'm usually scrolling on through it. Hopefully you're not doing that tonight with our video. If you are joining us on Facebook Live, thank you so much. If you're not, and are safely at home, not driving, and can be in front of a device, we're on facebook.com/connections by Aria. We did talk through that commercial break, so I apologize if you left a comment or question there. I'll be honest, I didn't see it yet. I promise to look at the next commercial break. You can always call into the show, too, if you have any questions or comments related to our topic today at 888-565-1470. But anyways, I was scrolling through Facebook. I had time to kind of dedicate to watching a video, and what I saw was live feed on Facebook Live from the Charlottesville event that happened this past weekend. And what it was it appeared to be close to, if not 100 or so clergy members who marched arm in arm through the crowd, settled in front of the statue in question, and just with linked arms just started singing This Little Light of Mine.
Powerful.
And it was so powerful. And whoever was filming just kind of scrolled up and down the line, and you saw, liturgical wear and iconology and everything from just about every faith you can imagine, and everything in between. And then after that, each individual person for about 15 to 20 seconds said a prayer. And they prayed to whomever it is that they pray to, and but their message was the same, right on down the line, right? And they were all linked arms, and then after each person would finish, every other person would turn around so to make sure that the next person who was speaking was protected, to literally watch their back. And while they were doing this, you could hear, because it was live video stream, it wasn't edited or anything, which again, I just stumbled upon, just about every hurtful word you could imagine being yelled at these people. And you watch their face. I mean, the camera was right on their face as they are being ridiculed and mocked in public. And it was unchanging. And they didn't stutter. They didn't stop speaking. They had a message. They knew what they were there to do. They were linked arms. There was no fear. It was incredible. I mean, I honestly was so moved by that. And I thought, I saw people commenting, the Facebook comments underneath, and someone made a connection to, in the Christian faith, Jewish Jesus standing in the village square being mocked. Right. And being ridiculed, and that he was unchanging in his message and his message of peace and love. And it was just so touching to me, to see all those different symbols connected in this unified message. And so I reshared it because I was hoping that others would have found that 10 minutes in their day to also watch that. And the next day, when I was in my own service, the whole message was about this idea of the power of prayer and how it can be so simple and how it, and it just, the two together just reminded me, and again, this is not meant to be any kind of religious message today or endorsing one religion over the other. It's just really the power of the spiritual connection that really just stayed with me of, you don't have to agree with your neighbor. Mm-hmm. And oftentimes we don't, right? But you can come together with this very simple principle, which is the foundation of so many core religions or spiritual beliefs, of just kindness, and looking out for your neighbor. And how do you see in the community, obviously you're in the religious community, and I'll let you speak to that a little bit too, of where you are present in the interfaith community, things like that. But just this kind of golden rule, principle, and that's widely accepted. How do you see that impacting our community here as a whole?
Well, I think, there always was the town intellectual, in the old days, and people would listen to what the town intellectual would have to say. And I think a lot of times religion and spirituality and people that represent those faith traditions that have something in common, i.e. against hate and violence, get together for that one cause. All right, so there you have all these different religions. They may not have had the same agreement on gay rights or the poor or anything else, but they were against this demonstration of hate and literally psychological violence, and of course physical violence in the end. To be able to come together, a powerful spiritual unit, okay, and that's what we need more publicity about. Those people doing that, bringing that spirit together and saying, we are calling it what it is, we're calling it violence, we're calling it hatred, and we're counter-praying it, or whatever you call it, Is it a prayer of supplication? No, I don't think so. Is it asking God to stop these people from doing that? Perhaps. I think it's more of a prayer of reinforcement and a prayer to restore one's spirit, to be able to face some of these challenges in our community. I'm very active with Interfaith Worker Justice. We had prayer vigils outside of Burger King when they wouldn't give the Immokalee workers an extra penny a pound. We had, and sang, and also in some other situations where we felt workers were being treated unfairly. And with various different faith traditions getting together, demonstrating, having prayer vigils, singing together, much like that, it was a really powerful thing to be part of.
Yeah, for sure.
And it had an impact on a couple of campaigns that we had. So that was good.
That's incredible. What were some of the different faiths and traditions represented in that group?
I have a lot of friends in the Muslim community, the Hindu community, the Jewish community, Christian community, Baha'i up there in Palm Beach County, or where we are now. Also Buddhists, you name it. And we even have dialogue with atheists. And we'll talk about a common theme, about atonement, about whatever it is, and we'll get together and discuss the ways of the world, what's going on, the burning of the Quran. I was invited to be the Christian presence. I think they were a little disappointed that I wasn't in agreement with Reverend Terry to burn the Qurans, but I think that they inevitably said, because they wanted kind of a debate maybe, but I was one of those Christian pastors that spoke against that, so.
I thought it was interesting too when we were just talking about different topics like that you've been asked to speak on, that kind of like you said, looking for a debate, right?
Right.
So they'll kind of look to see the different viewpoints within the same faith. You had mentioned even being interviewed on your position on gay marriage because it was being interviewed from a different perspective that same day. I mean, on messages like that are, I think, like you said, in media, kind of they're hot button topics, right? Some people are going to kind of latch on to whatever they identify with their faith. Okay, that's my position for that. That's my position for that. It's so stark sometimes. It's so clear how people feel about things. How can you bridge over that, and come together? What does the approach look like for that? And even, as a clergy member, but also as a community member, just coming together and saying, I get it. We fundamentally have these differences. How can we come together, work together at this time?
I think sometimes people are conflicted and they're swayed by their friends. The latest presidential election was an example of that, where people became somewhat divisive that were not normally divisive. And you know, my response always was, I love you too much to discuss this right now. And kind of avoidance, I suppose. But basically, it's sometimes people are really looking for spiritual direction. We don't spend enough time meditating, praying, spending time with ourselves. Like you said, 10 minutes to watch a video, that was a big chunk of your day, you know? But a half an hour in the morning meditating or praying or just being alone with yourself or being at the beach watching the sunrise, we don't do enough of that. So as a result, sometimes we look for direction from maybe our faith leaders. So when they see the faith leaders in a situation like you described in Charlottesville, it's a powerful message for some people. And some people need that direction to be able to make their own choice.
Yeah.
You know, and we're not coming with an agenda, but we are coming with an agenda in a sense. You know, and you know, I believe this because the leader of my faith endorses this, and we're talking about, you know, justice, love. Well, if this is justice, love, then I'm all for it. And thank you for articulating that. A fellow pastor of mine wrote a beautiful prayer about the whole event in Charlottesville. She's just very gifted that way, and all of the seminarians and everybody have come together on her page and really said, "Wow, well done." You know, so we look for direction with our own peers, with our faith leaders, with our fellow people in our faith communities. Sometimes we need that, just that little inspiration, you know, and that's what spirit is, you know.
I agree.
Versus religion, spirituality.
Right. I love what you said about it restores your spirit. I mean, that's like spirituality to me. You were looking for something to restore.
It's fuel. I mean, worship is, you know, not the old, we're bowing down to the God of whatever. Worship is refueling oneself and bringing the divinity that's within us out into action. You know, so in Christianity, we talk about the social gospel of Jesus Christ, the message that he gave. We're not just talking about it. We're not just reading Bible verses from by rote. We are actually doing it. We're turning it into action. So that's where the Spirit is really important.
I love how you phrase it. I'm like feeling powered by sin. I mean, that's cool.
Yeah,
that's
right. Yeah, it's
it
good
does.
stuff.
I think sometimes, and I'm certainly not going to speak for everybody, but in just conversations that I've had, having had formal religion as part of my life for most of all of my life, but also having the freedom, being encouraged by my mom and by actually the church I grew up in as well to, you know, check out a temple and check out a Jewish temple, a Buddhist temple. Mormonism was founded, you know, 10 minutes from my house, so check that out and go to the Hill Cumorah pageant and all this stuff. And we were encouraged to really look into all that, and I appreciated that. But for those of, you know, my peers that I've talked to, that they are afraid of that, almost that control, I think, of abiding to an organized religion and you know, kind of using bow down as a metaphor for that, of just having to follow all that. And I like what you said, that it's empowering you, you know, when you're worshiping, as you used that word, that it's empowering the goodness that's in you to come out in alignment with that. I think that's a softer message. You know, for people who have this one idea in their head about religion, which certainly it can be the case in some places, but that there's an alternative to that as well.
It's not all about rules and rituals. It's not all about control, although in some faiths it is.
Right.
You know, but you can take that control for what it's worth. You know, ritual and tradition are amazing and beautiful things. But if the end result is just performing the ritual and doing the thing as a thing of rote, it loses some meaning.
Right.
And I think, you know, standing in the middle of Notre Dame, okay, as the sun is coming through the rose window, and you've got a German choir that just breaks out into song a cappella. It's ritual.
Ooh, I get chills just hearing
but it's awe-inspiring.
Yeah.
I mean, everybody that was in the church was moved by that one moment of this burst of song, just like a, you know, flash, whatever they call them, the flash mobs. But this was the German choir, and they just sounded so beautiful. And it was a spiritual experience for all of us, for anyone that was in that room.
It's a spiritual experience hearing your story about it.
Yeah, it was great.
Awesome.
It was like, things like that happen all the time. But that was amazing. That was just amazing. So.
That's incredible. It sounds amazing. We're going to cut to our last commercial break, but I do want to continue talking about, since we both work a lot with an aging population,
Oh, yes.
the importance of spirituality as we age. And I really do, I have seen a lot of my clients or patients come to this realization of, my whole life or much of my life, I've turned away from organized religion because of, some of the reasons that we've talked about, and then realizing how personalized it really can be, how it really can meet them in that moment and help them find that peace, in the time when they need it most. So we'll stick around. We're going to come back after this quick commercial break with Reverend Ren Bell. Be right back. Are you a music therapist or part of the music therapy community? If so, we're excited to announce Aria. Aria is a mobile app that provides tools, resources, and community for today's modern music therapist. You can plan, implement, and share music therapy interventions with the community, keep track of your schedule and contacts, and learn from other members in our community section. Best of all, Aria is free. Visit arianow.com to get started today. The Palm Beach Music Therapy Institute is a professional music therapy practice serving medical, community, and educational settings throughout Southeast Florida. With our experienced team of 11 board-certified music therapists, we use music and research-based therapeutic interventions to help individuals of all ages and abilities reach their goals and increase their quality of life. For more information on our services and programs, please visit our website at pbmti.com. Engage with us on Facebook, Twitter, or Instagram, or call us at 561-747-9944. You are listening to Palm Beach Music Therapy Connections. If you'd like to join the conversation, the toll-free number is 888-565-1470. Now back to the show.
Where's the treasure coast?
Thank you so much for joining us tonight. You're listening to us. We just can't stop talking. We're just so excited to catch up. It's totally fine. I'm your host, Bree Gordon, here with Reverend Ren Bell. Again, thank you, Ren, so much for being here. It's such a pleasure to not only talk through some of this, which I know is something that we're both passionate about, but also to reminisce, and you do remind me of kind of a past life, I guess, of mine and working in this care. And I remember just how impactful a song, a prayer, a touch, an affirmation, a mantra, or whatever it is, that all these little tiny, a smile, they can be spiritual moments. It does not have to be this big fancy thing. Sometimes it is that, and it's cool to be a part of that too, to bring a tradition like a wedding, or even you and I, even together, have been part of conducting several funeral services.
That's right.
Together. So
Absolutely.
Sometimes it is an organized tradition, but sometimes it is so simple just to pass on just that enriching and that restoring of the spirit. Like you said, I think that's such a beautiful way to explain spirituality in its purest form. We've talked a lot about how just restoring the spirit for a community, how important that can be just by coming together, despite differences in cultural backgrounds, in ideals, in teachings. But, you and I working a lot in this healthcare community and working with those that are going through the aging process, unfortunately, we're meeting people when they're in times of crisis.
Right.
Most of the times, especially being on the unit where you are. And so if you aren't spiritual or religious, the time often feels kind of imminent to find that peace. I mean, what are some of your experiences that you've observed? As I'm sure there's been a multitude of, the range of people kind of, coming to terms with what's going on in their lives, and there's certainly financial affairs and legal affairs and all of this, but at the end of the day, it really does seem to me that the most important to settle is their spiritual comfort.
Yeah, I think it can come in conversation, and oftentimes I've learned that sometimes there are no words, just by being there, by holding their hand and surrounding the bed at the moment of death, or at the moment where someone slips into a coma. And me, I never shut my mouth, but I've learned on a couple of occasions that sometimes just that ministry of presence alone is very powerful. Connection, so hand holding, a sharing of energy, a sharing of spirit. and with some of our aging folks, they're quite demented, and to be able to bring some sort of familiarity to a patient. I remember this one case. This woman was very demented, and she'd smile at me and talk about nothing. And I finally said, I've got to reach her some way. There's got to be some way for me to be able to reach her. So I brought a card with a picture of Jesus holding the lamb. And I gave her the card. She looked at the card. She looked at me, looked back at the card, and she said, "My Savior." So for a Christian woman, that was a powerful
Absolutely.
story. And so even with Alzheimer's, there's a way to redirect and somehow be creative with a song, with a piece of art
Yep.
that brought them back to the moment where they maybe were
Yeah.
a little bit more lucid, and songs definitely do that, especially some of the old Christian hymns and, Catholic patient that's totally unresponsive. Boy, you say in the name of the Father, and that hand sometimes just reflexes right up to the forehead, So it's spiritually fulfilling for the practitioner as well as the patient.
It's interesting. It's such a multisensory experience, which I didn't really think about before. But and I can only speak to the faith and traditions that I'm more well versed in. But from what I've learned from others, it's similar. There's food that's associated. There's scents that are associated. Obviously, music. And so the opportunity that we have to bring that to someone in an unfamiliar, possibly threatening situation. It's not home.
Right.
There's noises I don't know. There's people I don't know. But here are some things that I know that are going to connect me to that spirituality or to that religion. So I think that's a really neat opportunity we have. Another thing I remember being a part of were the veterans services.
Yes.
And
yes.
that to me, in some cases, felt like a spiritual experience. And to get to watch, you mentioned watching someone physically move, physically feel called to gesture or move something that was brought to them by being reminded of their faith. I'll never forget, singing for the God Bless America for a gentleman who was a veteran who was pretty near, the end, and family was around, and certainly not expecting a huge response from the patient, just to look for comfort, and he held a salute for the entire length of the song.
Right.
And I'll never forget that. And again, I think it's just tapping into that one thing, that one part of our spirit that it really kind of awakens it. And so, kudos to you for going on that extra mile, to finding that creative way to find people, because there is always some way.
There is a way.
And even if we don't see the response, we may have missed it in a softened respiration or a smile or something. We're reaching people, which is pretty cool. Do you find that you've ever had an experience where you've had to almost not convince someone, certainly that's not our place, but just kind of help guide them towards a place of comfort that they maybe were resistant to at that time, as they're maybe actively accepting changes in their lives that just...
I think that a lot of people, are afraid of the unknown. And those people that don't necessarily have a faith tradition don't really know what there is at the end or after the end. And oftentimes, for someone that's not from a religious perspective or a religious tradition, you kind of have to sort of allow them to imagine what that might be like for them. Empowering them to be able to know that their spirit and energy is still living, but maybe not in the way that we think, in a paradise or in a heaven or in the arms of Jesus. But it's a peaceful and wonderful place, And, you don't have an agenda, but you try to create for them something, because for someone to know that there's nothing on the other side must be very frightening.
Yeah.
And I've experienced that with patients. And without pushing an agenda, you can sort of make them, kind of guide them in a way that in fact there may be something.
Yeah.
And to
Gentle.
be hopeful.
Yeah.
Just to be hopeful.
Yeah.
To have faith, maybe you don't want to use that word, but to be hopeful.
Hope. Yeah, I think hope is a great word for it.
Yeah.
We used to wear tikva bracelets. I remember one of the rabbis gave us.
Exactly. Hope. Hospice is not giving up hope. Hospice is hoping for better days ahead for whatever time we have. So that's anybody's hope, right?
Yeah,
You know,
absolutely.
whether it be comfort care, which we do, alleviation of symptoms, which we do, and not just physical symptoms, but spiritual symptoms, emotional system, symptoms, mental symptoms. You know, that's all part of comfort care.
That's beautiful. I love how you
Yeah.
worded that, because a lot of things we're talking about today could be uncomfortable for someone, whether it's the word religion, whether it's hospice, whether it's healthcare in general. These are kind of unfamiliar terms to some people. Not unfamiliar, but uncomfortable, right? So I really appreciate how gently you approach the topic. You kind of normalize it, because it is normal. You know, this is part of our life.
Everyone's going to go through it, you know.
Yeah.
And better to do it there, or
Yeah.
with the help or the
With the-
support
right,
of
with the
hospice,
support.
than not. You
Right.
know?
Yep, I agree. In our last few minutes here, you know, for anyone who's listening today that's feeling just the strain or the heaviness, of certain things, whether it's in the media or by going on Facebook and seeing article after article, and just maybe needs a break from the screen and wants to make a difference in their community. What, in simplest terms, from a spiritual perspective, what advice would you give?
Well, you know, everybody says that they can't make a difference in the world by themselves. So the answer to that is maybe we can make a difference in the world as being part of a group. Okay, so there's the peace movement, there's bold justice movement, there's all kinds of movements that involve all different types of faiths that speak to some of these issues. And, they may ask you to show up on a Sunday at a rally just to get everybody psyched about a particular thing that they're fighting for, whether it be peace in the Middle East or whatever. And, I think together, if we work together, it doesn't have to be a faith community, but just a community in general, watch that media and see where you can get involved. It will move your spirit and perhaps the spirits of others,
Absolutely.
It could be an amazing thing. And it's about that. It's about having the spirit and having that social justice love issue, all around us. And yeah, we can make a difference, one person at a time. Transformation is possible.
Great. What a beautiful way to end this. Thank you again so much for taking the time to come on. I think this was a much needed topic. I know I needed to hear it, so it's good for my spirit, and I'm sure that of many others. So again, thank you so much, Ren. Thank you for listening and watching tonight. We will be back with you next Monday, 7 to 8 on 95.3 FM, 1470 AM, and on Facebook Live at facebook.com/connections by Aria. Thank you so much for watching. Have a great night. Thank you for listening to Connections. We hope you enjoyed today's program and discover new ways to bring creativity into your home or place of work. If you have any questions for our host Bree or today's guest, please email them at bree@pbmti.com or call at 561-747-9944. Thank you for sharing the music with us.
The opinions expressed on the preceding sponsored program were strictly those of its hosts, guests, and callers, and not necessarily those of this station, its staff, management, or sponsors.